Welcome, everyone. We look a little bit short today. There's just the three of us. JJ has booked a flight away from the UK due to Man United's poor results today. And Mike is not with us. So we've got Duncan, Steve, and myself for a jam-packed show for the big return of the Premier League. So we'll start off with the Premier League. We'll go through the results of the season, the first game, and then we'll look through to the game ahead. Plus some conversation in between of Ten Hag and a few other bits and pieces, maybe Haaland as well. So stay tuned for an action-packed show. But first, let's start with United. So 2 seconds. What has gone wrong at United? Is it the manager? Is it the players? Is it the fans? Has it all gone wrong? Is it the directors? I don't know. Anyway, let's go over to Duncan. He will explain a little bit more. Dunk, take it away.
Sorry, you just want me to explain all of Man United's problems, just like that. That's what you want me to do.
Yeah, you've got an hour. Go.
you just pop off somewhere. Yeah.
So, did you watch the game, Dunk?
I've seen all the highlights. Yeah. And by all accounts, like Brighton put them to the sword a bit for large periods of the game. So, I mean, one thing you'll have to say, like they've appointed Ten Hag. All he's had is the pre-season. Like they can't expect all their problems to go away instantly when the new season starts in one game. I guess as a Man United fan, you would have been hoping for a result at home against Brighton, and you'd have been hoping for a positive performance. So again, they had spells, but like not great overall. Brighton looked the better team, and Brighton deserved the win. So you're saying that it's the same old story this season, just new manager? Well, we spoke about them on that lengthy episode at the end of last year, didn't we? And said about what they needed to get in and what they needed to get rid of. What have they done? Like they've got in, like, is it 3 players? Eriksen, yep. Malakia and Martinez. So they got in 3 players. Like half the players haven't left, like that you would have expected them to. So they've still got that massive squad around. We all were like raised an eyebrow at the news that Maguire would still be captain. Like obviously he wants him to play, but that's a questionable decision if you want to like change the ethos of the club and start a new thing. I see he's been saying this week they've got to forget about last season. Well, they'll forget about it after losing 2-1 at home to Brighton. Now they can worry about this season. Steve, so the game against Brighton at home, first game of the season, do Man United now press the panic button? They got booed off the pitch after the first game of the season, or do they need to slow it down, allow the project to develop?
I think they're going to press the panic button because I think they've put in a £7.5 million bid for Arnautovic.
Yeah, but he's only 33, and it was 9.75, and it was rejected, I believe.
Exactly. So I think they've pressed the panic button already, and I expect them to do that. They're just going to go out and I think just buy anybody now, because that's a bad result. I know that he's come in, he's got to, how can I say, put his own stamp on it, but he can't lose 2-1 at home to Brighton, especially leaving people like Varane, Ronaldo on the bench. He would have been justified if they did win the game, but nah, they're going to panic, I think. So Man United had a fairly decent pre-season as well. So it looked like Ten Hag had got them playing. Rashford missed an absolute sitter. That was awful. Rashford, I've been saying, is poor last season. That form has continued into this season. And I know it's only one game, so we're not going to get carried away and suddenly think the Man United are going to be bottom of the league and they're going to go down and they'll be in the Championship next season. I don't think that's going to happen in its early days yet. But the style of football today didn't seem massively different to last season. For me, that the players still seemed a little bit subdued. They didn't seem that they were really up for it. And I think on the flip side of it, Brighton were fantastic. So all the negative stuff that was around United, like Brighton were really good. They were a good value for that win. I don't think they looked like they were playing away the underdogs in that particular game. And if you think about it, they've lost arguably probably 2 of their best players last season, Bissouma and the left back,
Cucurella.
Cucurella.
I learned his name.
And apparently none of their new signings were playing in that game either. So
yeah, Cucurella said, so for them to come in, start the season away to Man United, win the game, still beat £100 million up almost on the two signings. It's looking very good for them this season if they invest it wisely.
So you made the comments about Ronaldo being left on the bench. Obviously, Ronaldo had inverted comments for those listening, audio only. He was having some family time over the summer rather than doing any preseason. And don't get me wrong, he's probably way fitter than most of the players there, judging by performance today. Who also looked like he wanted to leave, and that's not happened for one reason or another, whether it's his wages or whatever. So he was left on the bench, rightly or wrongly. Dunk, what do you think?
like you said, he's probably put him on the bench due to a lack of game time. Maybe it's fitness. Maybe he's not happy with the amount of time Ronaldo's had in training, so he could evaluate him and how he's going to play the system with Ronaldo in the team. Doesn't look to be a great decision at this stage. Like we said, Ronaldo, you can say what you want about him, but he's the one that got most of the goals last season and saved their bacon on more than one occasion.
And Varane was left on the bench as well. Maguire and Martinez were starting the game. So I want to say that should have been a nice warm up really for Martinez to come into the Prem. New defender. Is that really the wrong decision though? Should they have started with Varane and maybe look to bring Martinez into the Prem in order to see that style of football and get accustomed to it? Because I remember when Pep came over, when he came to City, he underestimated the Prem completely of how fast it was and how different it is to any other league. So, Steve, thoughts on the pairing at the back there?
Yeah, to me, he should have started with Varane and Maguire. Martinez just came in. He's not played in the Premiership before. You haven't sorted out the midfield in front of him, so he's walking into a team in disarray. So and the way Brighton play as well. It's not it's a game where they're just going to lump the ball forward and it's simple defending. You have to have your wits around your positional sense, all that kind of stuff. So to me, he should have started with a centre back pairing that know each other, and then slowly bed it in.
So United still dominated large portions of the game, had more possession, more passes, etc. But does it look like teams are no longer scared of United? Does that factor completely gone from Old Trafford now? Do you think?
I would say yeah, especially if Ronaldo's not on the pitch. Whatever disagreements he has with Ronaldo, he was their top scorer and best player last season. So to leave him on the bench and then bring him on, it doesn't make sense. If you're going to discipline him and you're not happy with him looking to leave or something like that, then just leave him out the squad and just get rid of him. Because you can't question fitness because Ronaldo's in tip-top condition. He knows how to manage his game. So it's either you can't come out in the press and make statements and say you want him to be a part of the club and then leave him on the bench. Doesn't make sense.
Does anyone know offhand like how different that starting squad was from the end of last season? Because I can't imagine it's that different.
What, the starting lineup? No, it wasn't massively different. So they had De Gea in goal. They still had Maguire, Dalot and Luke Shaw, Fernandes, Fred and McTominay in midfield. And then they had Rashford, Eriksen and Sancho up top. Now, Sancho, by all accounts, never lived up to his price tag last season, which is fine. He's that dim, right? We'll give him the benefit of that. But he wasn't firing on all cylinders. Rashford had a really poor season. Eriksen, for me, I've said it before, he's the oldest 29-year-old ever known to man. Like literally, the guy is in like a 50-year-old's body with regards to his pace and etc. He's a luxury player that United really can't afford to be carrying. I'm not saying he was the sole blame, but that starting line of those three, leaving Ronaldo out, and it just reeks of like, I'm the manager and what I say goes. And I kind of understand that it's a new era, but it's really frightening from that point of view, especially when they've looked at Arnautovic to come into that team. And don't get me wrong, as when he was at West Ham, a really good player, but I would say he's a mercenary because he left West Ham to go to China for the money, right? wasn't for the love of football and go, oh, I'm going to make China the best league in the world, right? He went for the big fat payday. Fine, we'd all leave our jobs for a big fat payday. Completely understand it. But then you're looking to bring this player back with all of the problems that they've had with Pogba, just on the big money and the signings they get. Is there not some kind of, well, we want to go and play for United? There must be players out there still that go, oh, I want to go and play for Man United, or is that just gone?
I agree. There must be players out there that want to play for United, and I'm surprised that they're going for Arnautovic, because even he done well at West Ham, but he didn't set the world alight, and he's not coming in to raise the bar at Man United. To me, he's going to come in. Yeah, he's just not raising the bar. And Man United, you can't tell me you're struggling for money, so you should be looking at a higher caliber of player, even if you try and take advantage. Well, they've got bad issues with, I was going to say Barcelona, but there's players knocking around the European leagues that they could easily pick up. That's better than Arnautovic and can do better for them.
And when you said about pressing the panic button, like we spoke about how they were getting taken for a ride on some of their signings. We've seen De Jong dragged out. That'll look really bad for them if Chelsea just come in and sign De Jong in like the next week. That'll look super bad for them. But like, it's not, if they start hitting that panic button, like, things aren't going to get easier. They've only got whatever 3 or 4 weeks left of the transfer window, and selling clubs are going to look and go, right, you're going to, if you want this and you're desperate for it, you're going to pay. And like, they're not going to be in a good situation for the rest of the window.
Is it a case of naivety from Ten Hag? Because I don't know enough about his Ajax transfers. Okay, so now and I mean the ones he signed for Ajax, not the ones he's tried to bring across to United. So is it a case of, he came in early, we thought that he was coming in to assess the squad and actually get the ground running, have a look to see who they wanted and who they needed? Or has he been told that, because he told them that he could make it work with who they've got, that they just haven't bothered, other than signing a defender to replace, that we all assumed they were going to be replacing Maguire, but then they put him captain, play him, and bench the World Cup winner Varane, and leave Captain Fantastic on the pitch. So is it naivety from him thinking he can get the best out of this squad, or the board have gone, we're not sanctioning anyone else other than De Jong, which you're not going to get anyway, Steve?
I don't know. I just think that they look like they don't have a plan, because obviously Ten Hag's come in. He must have spoken to them. This is what I want to do. The targets they're going for, you either go and get them and finish with it, spend the money that the manager needs, and then back him. But they just seem disjointed between board and manager, and that's very worrying at this early stage of the season. And it's similar to Chelsea. Again, disconnected seems to be between the manager and the board, because Ten Hag can't come in and then they're saying they're not backing him. It just all doesn't make sense, and it's not looking good. Just get the targets in and done.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, like, again, we there's parallels with like Tuchel, where we were talking about before, and he was like, "Oh, Lukaku's the missing piece," and I was kind of saying he's a German. It was a case of, "Oh, Werner and Havertz didn't play good for the last manager. I'll get them working," and maybe Ten Hag's come in and said, "You watch, I'll get this squad working." Maybe there's a bit of that, because I can't believe the board would not back him after all the fuss that's been made about this appointment and it being dragged on for so long. I cannot believe that the board would not just give him money to sign players.
And now they've been linked with Leroy Sané as well. So Mane goes, Sané out, and do you think Sané is not the missing link? So let's get past the missing link, right? They've got Rashford that can play on the wing, Sancho that can play on the wing, Martial that can play on the wing. Ronaldo's past it now. And then so Sané comes in and can play left or right in that side. But is this kind of last minute? I mean, I know we're not at the end of the transfer window, but does this stink a little bit of desperation? Who is available? We've received the facts, and we can get this player. Is that because I don't understand the targets that they haven't got that they wanted, and now they've not even been linked with him, right? And suddenly he comes available. Like Sterling was up, didn't get Sterling. He would have been a great signing. Could have got Jesus, would have been a great signing for United. And now it's kind of gone down this pecking order of going, who used to play for Man City that we could get. Sane used to play for them. Right, let's see if we can get him in, right?
The thing is, it's just that it doesn't make any sense, because if it was a manager that had been there a couple of years, then that's a bit different. But he's new, so you've just proposed your project to the board. So your list of targets should be there. And it just doesn't make sense. Going for Sane, I don't see, he's a good player. Not what they need, though. They need something in the middle. They need a couple of central midfielders in the middle of that part. So things like Basuma going to Tottenham, they should never have let that happen. They should have been all trying to be all over that. At least put a bid in, but there wasn't even rumoured to be bidding for him. So I don't know. There's midfielders knocking around the league that they could pick up.
Is this Xhaka going to Man United? Yeah. They get that low. They're like, right, you know what?
He'll do a better job than what they got at the moment, to be honest.
El Neni. They'll get El Neni. Go on.
Yeah. I mean, let's draw a line under the United saga of it's been bad, it's been poor. Let's not, hopefully, United fans have some patience. Like I said, Ten Hag, 10th in the league. That's what you're looking for this season. That's what he's in for. Hopefully, there'll be a little bit of transfer news shortly that we can all get behind and have something to talk about on that side of things. Now, West Ham played Manchester City, the winning half of the blue half, the good half currently of Manchester. And there was a fairly young striker on the pitch today that no one's ever heard of before. What was his name? I mean, he was only 60 million, like cheaper than most strikers go for these days. Started in the Prem. Took to it like a duck to water. Come on, Duncan. I know you want to get that crystal ball out and predict it again. How did he do today?
I was saying it. I was saying it as soon as the transfer was announced. There's not going to be any issues with Haaland scoring goals in the Premier League. So again, it was nice to see him get off the mark, get a couple of goals. They had a penalty, and he was the taker. So that was good. He was able to get that one under his belt, and he got another one. Similar to. We've spoken about Mitrovic the last couple of weeks, so it's good to see, them come in. There's question marks. Can Haaland do it in the Prem? Is Mitrovic only Championship level? And it's nice to see players like that prove their doubters wrong. Give a swift two fingers to the critics and get off the mark. So like I said, I think Haaland's going to do bits this season. Last week, I had him down as a top scorer. Maybe 26 was a bit on the light side. I don't know, but that is
looks like it now, right?
That is just Premier League goals. So we'll see. But I've got absolutely no questions over Haaland. He doesn't need to prove himself.
So his second goal today was an absolute awesome run. I said it last week that he is more than just that pivotal target man. That the way he played today shows that he's got a lot of depth to his game, but his lightning pace, along with everything else, was literally insane. The way he broke across that defense, De Bruyne must have had a semi for half of that game, knowing that it doesn't matter what he does, Haaland will get on that end of that ball. It could be overhit by 30 yards, and Haaland will still get to it. Steve, your thoughts on his performance today?
I think he showed that he's going to give a lot of defenses a lot of problems, because he can play with his back to goal. So if you try and sit deep, he can bring Manchester City as a whole team closer to your goal, because he can maintain the ball. And then if you try and press a high line, someone can feed it through and he will burst through and he can leave a defender for dead. And he's clinical. He doesn't seem to be someone that's wasteful. 3 chances, probably something like 2 goals. That's what the kind of numbers he'll do. And
Pep today made 5 subs. Now, I'm saying this because this is a positive thing. I talked about the subs the last episode and how using them and embedding in players and giving them a little bit of exposure is going to be key. I think United made one with 2 minutes to go today, which was completely pointless, chasing the game at 2-1. But Pep today made 5 subs. So this isn't bad either. So Calvin Phillips came on a bit late, 8-9 minutes. Bernardo Silva, Cole Palmer, Julian Alvarez, and Riyad Mahrez, right? That's not bad substitutes to bring on, is it? But also, Cole Palmer wouldn't have got that game time before. So now, and this is, I think, is the bonus of having the 5 subs. embed the youngsters, give them experience. The crowd's going to be massive compared to what they used to before. It's a whole world of bringing it up. So for me, a touch of mastery. Thoughts, guys, on the 5-sub rule? Do you think it's going to be abused a little bit too much? Dunk. Oh, Steve, sorry. Steve first. Steve, because he was just about to sort. Sorry, Steve.
I think it's going to be a good thing. I like the way that they've done the 5 subs, but you can only do it in 3 occasions. So you can't just continuously spoil the game. So that, I think, controls the element of people abusing it. Yeah, I agree with you. More youngsters are going to get more game time, especially teams when they're on top, rest their big players in a World Cup year. A lot of managers will be looking at that. I don't think you'll see any of the top players playing more minutes than they have to be honest. So yeah, no, definitely 5 substitutes is a good thing.
Yeah,
Anything to add?
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, totally agree. Good thing. More players going to get game time that maybe would have been sat out on the bench before. It was the Brentford game as well. One of their subs scored. De Silva scored a nice goal to win that game. So all in favour of the 5 subs and more of the squad, particularly youngsters, getting game time.
Was Grealish starting today? Was that Pep saying we're trusting you, Grealish, or the fact that he's sold everyone else, that they've got no extra depth in there? But he left Mahrez on the bench, started with Grealish, which is a good thing for the English fans in order to hopefully get him some good games before the World Cup. Dunk.
I think Man City, they're just the type of team, they will rotate throughout the season. So I wouldn't personally read too much into it that he started this game and someone like Mahrez on the bench. Like we know how they operate. They've got an amazing squad, particularly in the attacking department. So we'll see if he gets a run. But normally Pep likes to mix it up and keep it changing round. But yeah, I think Grealish will definitely get more game time this season than he did last season. After paying the 100 mil, kind of Pep likes to bring the players in gradually because obviously wherever they come from, they're not playing in Man City and they're not playing that style of football. So it's going to take some adjusting to do, apart from Haaland, because he's just going to get at the end of everything. But more the other players need to get used to that system, and he seems to nurture them and bring them through and give them the right amount of game time. Maybe you should have a word with Southgate on how to do that and utilise subs correctly.
I watched the City game and I thought West Ham were a little bit unlucky. They looked like they were getting back into the game, and then Haaland pops up and goes, "Nah, sorry boys, it just isn't going to happen. You just give that ball out there, and I'm going to score." His goal was this. His second goal was fantastic. The run and the lovely finish, beautiful. I've not seen a decent left-footed player like that in the Premier League for a while. I didn't think Gundogan had a good game though. I think he missed a couple of pretty easy chances and looked a little bit off the pace. Personally,
yeah, agreed. A couple of the passes he done didn't make any sense. He wasn't up to his usual levels, definitely. And going on, I know you're talking about the City bit with Grealish and stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how hard Pep pursues a left back, because I think the Cancelo Grealish doesn't work down the left for City. Cancelo's better on the right. And yeah, they just seem that that's a weakness for Man City. Grealish, I think it's a big season for him in terms of playing for City and England. He's got to release the ball a bit quicker for Man City. I think when he gets it, he kind of holds it up a bit. So, but we'll see.
Jesus, they could have beaten Arsenal to Zinchenko, couldn't they? He'd have been a great signing.
He played well. We'll come on to the boys in a minute. We'll come on to Steve's team shortly. Leicester and Brentford played a 2-2 draw, which I thought was a good result for Brentford. They've lost Eriksen, so they've lost that playmaker. Like we said, he'd be a bigger loss to Brentford than I think he will be a gain to United. But they still got 2 goals today. Sorry, on Saturday, which is pretty decent, I think, bearing in mind that they got rid of that. Leicester got 2 goals as well, but the transfers at Leicester are still are still not there. And I think, is it Fofana that's been linked with Chelsea for 85 million or something like that? I know he's like 2021. So that's big money. Is there problems at Leicester higher up? You don't see much in the papers for them, and I don't think we probably give them enough coverage. But is it a sign of a worry, Dunk?
Well, Rogers was saying today that there's no money for transfers. They're one of those teams where you'd say they're in that situation where the best bit of transfer business they can do is to keep hold of some of their players. So you've got Newcastle going in for Maddison, possibly Harvey Barnes. Maybe they want one of those two to prize one of them away. Fofana's been linked. Obviously, like if they sell someone, you'd hope they would use some of that money. Obviously, it's going to be like the whole Man U Ajax situation. If they sell Fofana for 70 million, maybe they can get someone in for 20, 30, and that will cover that. And it sounds like the board aren't going to make all the funds available from what Rodgers is saying. But then again, like Leicester, they were one of those teams last season that had a few injuries and really underperformed. So maybe they're thinking, right, we've actually got most of our squad back. But then it could happen again. You could still get the injuries again. So they're ones to keep an eye on and just see who they can actually keep hold of. I'd say they will probably let someone go for big money, Maddison or Fofana, and like I said, get a replacement in for half the money, and they won't do much more than that.
Steve, if you were a Leicester fan, your manager's come out and said there's no money for players. Is that I want to say negative? He's obviously being honest, but him outwardly saying it. Is it saying that the board aren't providing him with money? There's been a disagreement in that side of things, or is he just being honest and saying, "Sorry, fans, like we've got nothing. We're trying to balance the books this season."
Yeah, I think he's just being honest. He's not trying to be cause drama or cause trouble. They have to balance the books this season. I think he said it a couple of weeks ago as well. And historically, that board normally backs their managers when they want to get players. So I think, unfortunately for Leicester, it's a case of they have to do some really good business in the transfer window. And when I say that, I mean, if you're going to let someone like Maddison go, maybe not just look for taking the cash, but try and get some players in as well as part of the deal, so you actually have the numbers. There's rumours Tielemans is off, but just do the business as early as you can.
Yeah, I understand that there's the level in football that we need to keep the right amount, and if they're running the club a business and trying to keep it at least as an even keel, I've got complete respect for that. I think that's an important thing because no one wants their club to be hemorrhaging money, especially when they're kind of battling for what they're battling. But does this mean they're settling for mid-table this season? They're happy for that, which maybe the fans won't be. So if you're a Leicester fan or a Leicester player, give us a shout. Let us know what you're thinking, where you're thinking you're going to end up. Because without the money and without the transfers that we've seen this year, they've not even bought like a couple of freebies. So if they lose, say they lost Maddison, Fofana, and Tielemans, I don't want to say it's necessarily a bad thing because they've been a bit stale, like the last couple of seasons. Maybe they could look to get 5 new players in if they got rid of 3 in order to give that squad a little bit of a rejuvenation, a little bit of an uplift. Because it must be quite disheartening when you're not seeing players coming in as well on a playing level. You kind of want to think, oh, everyone else is signing around us, but we're still not doing any business. But yeah, 2-2. I don't think that was such a bad game. It's quite an even game on there. As I say, even Ivan Toney scored as well.
I was just going to say with that one that I nearly put Dewsbury Hall in my fantasy football team. I'm a little bit late for this week, but he scored a banger.
He did.
He's like, that's a nice example of a younger player or coming through the ranks of the club, like doing some good work on the pitch there.
And going from that to another Desmond, 2-2, Fulham and Liverpool. Now, Steve's laughing if you're listening on audio. Fulham 2, Liverpool 2. Not panicking yet, surely, Liverpool. Big Steve, I know you want to discuss this one.
I was surprised. I did think Liverpool would actually win the game. I am happy for Mitrovic, to be honest, that he scored a double against Liverpool, one of the hardest defenses in the league. I think it will give him confidence for the season. I don't think it's panic stations for Liverpool, but they would be concerned that they didn't perform to the level that they should normally do, especially after playing well last week. They've had a decent pre-season. All the players have seemed to have settled. So it was surprising that they didn't win the game.
So I watched the game, and I thought Fulham were decent. I know we spoke about before, and don't buy too many players. You've coming up into the Prem, and we had and talking to Mitrovic. Mitrovic got two goals, played well that game. Salah was man of the match for some reason. I think it was a little bit unfair, but is this just a blip in the road? Did Liverpool come into the game thinking they'd already won it, Dunk? Is that what they were overly confident in this? Because Van Dijk looked off the pace.
I wouldn't say they were overly confident, but they obviously got caught out a bit. They got more of a game than they probably bargained for. I think we were talking about like opening games of the season a little while ago. That was when Leeds came back up. Their first game of the season was Liverpool, and it was 4-3. So I don't know. Maybe Liverpool don't like facing the untested Championship teams coming straight up. Normally they'll probably be a lot better on the pace when they play them the second time round. But yeah, they definitely got more than the game they bargained for. And like Steve said, fair play to Mitrovic for getting a couple. He gave him some serious problems at the back and made Van Dijk, lose his composure a bit, particularly for the penalty. You're on mute there, Neil. Come on. What kind of host is this?
I was clearing my throat. That was what I was doing. I don't think anyone was hear the coughing. Van Dijk, obviously, little mistakes they're going to happen. It's early part of the season, right? But Mitrovic looks to be good that he's going to get a few goals this season now. I think that's got to do his confidence a world of good. Scoring 2 goals against Liverpool, that's amazing as far as I'm concerned. Now, moving on to another team that got 2 goals. Someone's wearing their shirt.
Which one? It was both of them.
Someone's wearing their shirt. Oh, go on, Dan. Come on, talk us through Bournemouth's 2-0 victory, please.
That was quite a nice, I'd say, unexpected start to the season. Like goal after 2 minutes. Jefferson Lerma, who's been around a few seasons. Now, this is what I was saying last week. Like Bournemouth, we were saying about the signings, and some people were like predicting them to go down. Like, just, I don't know, the clowns we have to work with, Neil. But some people were saying that, and I was saying like they still have the core of their squad from when they were in the Prem. Okay, they were down for 2 seasons, but they still have the core of the squad. So Lerma popped up with a goal at the start. So obviously that's great. You're back in the Prem. You're playing Villa, who are a fairly decent team, who I've been touting as saying they should be in the top half of the table this year. And yeah, like Villa didn't really threaten an awful lot. They got a few shots away here and there, and then it got wrapped up last 10 minutes. And now, because that's my surname, Moore, now everyone's going to think I'm a Kiefer Moore fan. It's on the back of my shirt here. Kiefer Moore, is it? Yeah. Although no one will know who he is and who Bournemouth are, so it's okay. We don't. I got a conversation once in one of the London train stations by someone from Bournemouth, but people don't normally tend to recognise the shirt. Like that. Really happy with the result. Like 2-0, like at home to Villa. That's a really good, solid start. Like clean sheet, made it look fairly comfortable. Great start. Hope they can just build on from here. Although they are away to Man City next week, so
but the next 3 games are real bad.
Again, like historically, like when, particularly the first couple of seasons we were in the Prem, we always had some tight games with Man City. There was a game like where Sterling scored in the 94th minute to win, and a couple like that. I think that's when Daniels, the left back, scored the banger, one of the goals of the season. But like, I'm not going to read too much into it what happens against Man City, but I just hope they can put on a reasonably good performance and not get thumped.
And Solanke's not scoring doesn't bother you?
What, in the first game? No, 2-0 win. He had a couple of chances. He'll get there. If you're going to get into double figures, Neil, you've got time. It's one every other game.
one every 4 games.
1 every 4 games.
How many games you reckon he's going to get? 20? If he gets 20 goals this season, that'll be impressive. So 2-0 to Bournemouth. Great result for you, Dunk. Not a problem. Steve, on the flip side of it, losing 2-0 to Villa first. 2-0 to Villa for Villa fans. First game of season to losing to Bournemouth. Sorry, how is it? It's not panic, but that's a really poor result, right?
Yeah, it's panic, and it's not. But it's a concern because they didn't. It's not say they had players out. They had a disrupted preseason. They've made the signings that they wanted to sign, but they just didn't seem to put any. How can I say? Any attacking pressure on Bournemouth, and they had all their players there, so it was a bit strange. I'm surprised he started with Ings and not Watkins, which was a bit. Yeah, I was surprised at that. And he's made some changes in the club in terms of Mings is no longer the captain, McGinn's now the captain. So I don't know. It is a concern. I wouldn't say a panic or a worry, but and he will turn it around. But they just didn't have any bite in them yesterday.
They're two shots on target.
I was just going to say,
you're not.
Yeah. It's just a bit of a momentum killer, isn't it? Like it's not a panic, but Gerrard came in, they did quite well. They were performed way better than the first half of the season. And so when the new season starts, away to Bournemouth, one of the fresh meat, to get your team stuck into, get a nice handy win. So to get a defeat from them is just a bit of a momentum killer.
And I think it's the manner of the defeat as well. It's just no. What did you say, Neil? 2 shots.
2 shots on target for the whole game, right?
They had all their players available, so it's poor in terms of that sense. Yeah, you can lose to Bournemouth, but at least have some shots on their goal. You know what I mean? Have a period of the game where you're on top, but yeah, it's not good from their point of view.
Yeah, I was surprised by that result, to be honest. I didn't have Villa winning the league or anything like that, but that was a bit of a shock, which is nice to see, right? The new team's getting some goals. There's a team that wear white, and they've got this really, really, really weird away kit now with like
who
blue
is it
and yellow
now?
tie-dye.
Who is it now?
Leeds 2-1 to Wolves. That's not bad. That's a good result, right? When you've lost your best player.
Yeah. No, that was a good result. That's the kind of game you go into. Like Wolves weren't in any great form at the end of last season. They were up there like around 5th, and then they were dipping down towards the end of last season on a bit of a poor run of form. So you look at that, and obviously they were one of the games where we beat them 3-2, did that great turnaround to get some momentum going last year. So then that's a game you'd hope to get something from that. I'd say like I wouldn't have been disappointed with a draw, but it looks like we gave them a real good go. Aronson, by all accounts, seems to be drawing the plaudits from that game. So that's a good sign. Sinistera's injured at the minute, so he wasn't on the pitch. We had the new central midfield partnership of Adams and Rocker. So we had like four new players on with Christensen as well at the right back. So, a lot of the new players playing and played with some good intensity and energy. There was just some question marks. They got caught on the break a couple of times, and if Wolves had someone better up the top of the pitch putting things away, then maybe we wouldn't have got the win. It might have been a draw or something. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that result as well.
Looking at that game, and I'm looking at the Wolves team. Now, they didn't really make any changes at the top end under the pitch, and that bench looks really defense heavy. Is this a transitional period for Wolves? Because they were quite good a few seasons ago. They were battling near the top, not the top, but they were battling almost for 6th, 7th, 8th at one particular point. Now I'm looking at that Wolves team, and I know it's really early into the season, but when you see that bench and you're like, I haven't really got anyone to bring on. You're looking for a goal, right? You've gone 1-0 up, you're 2-1 down, you're looking for a goal, and there just isn't any recognised striker that people are going to go, we need to bring this player on, change it to put 2 up top. Do you know what I mean? Does that mean that Neves is going to leave because he needs to play with better quality players, Steve?
I think it's a possibility. They definitely need to bring in a striker because they struggled last season. What did they get? I think something like 38, 40 goals for the whole season. And so they had a problem last season. And I don't know why Bruno Lage hasn't addressed it, because he's not even been linked to anyone. Fabio Silva, who they had on loan, has gone again. So Jimenez, Huang, they just don't have enough up top to say. It's not even to say they had a very good season last season with scoring goals. They didn't create a lot. It was their defense that carried them all season, so they need to invest.
Is this and I don't want to compare the two clubs because they're both Midlands, but you've got Wolves that had spent a lot of money. They look like they're trying to balance books at the moment, but without any of the signings that they made. They must be making up for the fact that when they were in the Championship and came up through that particular period, and I've had COVID in between. So the distinct lack of transfers must be down to budgetary sanctions by the board from that side of things, because they desperately look like they're missing a striker. And talking of teams that don't have a player that can shoot, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle. Do you know Notts Forest didn't even have a shot on target in that game? Jesse Lingard's gone for, I don't know, what was it, 4.5 billion a week or whatever he's gone for. Didn't even muster a shot on target. Now, again, nowhere near the panic buttons on that side of things, and it took Newcastle 58 minutes to break down that Forest resolute defence. But you've got to have a shot on target, right? And I know it's obvious you don't have a shot on target, you're not going to score goals. But to be competitive in a game, you're going to need at least that effort from your strikers in there. And they're only playing Newcastle. I know they had a good end to the season, and Joe Linton found his boots, and the Guimaraes was in. And you look at the forward line of Newcastle, and it's not an amazing forward line, and the midfield's not set in the world on light. That's a good barometer, I think, for Forest in that league. Dunk, thoughts on that?
I think that's pretty symptomatic of what we were saying. Like, if you're going to sign 10, 12, whatever it is, players they've signed, most of them coming into the first team, like these guys haven't played together before. Some of them have been signed a few weeks ago, some of them in the last week or so. So they haven't had much time to gel together. So that is, like, that's what I said before. That's the danger when you sign so many players. You've got to get those players working together and firing. Now, so this is week one, so we can say, right, that's week one down. But how long is that going to go on for? When are they going to find their feet, start getting the shots, and start getting some results? As you know, like last week, I was tipping them as one of the relegation teams for this season, just purely because that kind of strategy hasn't worked out in the past.
You were trying to say Point Proof first game of the season, right? I mean, I know it's early days, but I think
I don't need to say that, Neil. I don't need to say that.
His face. If you're just listening to audio only, his face says it all. Now, again, first game, but Newcastle dominated. Over 60% possession. They had 23 shots, and 10 of those were on target. It wasn't like they were playing tiki-taka football and passing it around. It wasn't night and day with regards to the statistics on that side of things. It's just showing that an established team can, without upsetting the wagon, the egg cart, etc., this is just going to work, Steve.
Forest are going to have a problem if they can't put a threat on the Newcastle United goal. Because, as you said, Newcastle's not fantastic defensively. They made changes to their back line, new goalkeeper. Their midfield's not fantastic, and if Forest can't muster a shot on goal, it is a concern. Hopefully, they can turn that around, but hopefully they don't rely on their defense trying to carry them through the season, because teams that have tried that before end up going back down.
And don't forget, Forest were up against one of the best managers in the league on week one. Like, give them a break.
It was good to see Kieran Trippier back, though, firing on all cylinders. He was man of the match in that game as well. So from that horrific injury last season, taking him out for a long period of time, and finding some feet. And again, I know it's only against Forest, but finding some feet, that could be some good signs for Newcastle. A fairly decent squad. They did spend heavily in January, so they're going to have to balance the books at least for financial reasons at some particular point. Better to do it maybe now and then spend big again either next season, depending on what their real long-term plans are. But that's positive strides for Newcastle. Now, I predict this.
Just a quick one.
Whoa, both of you. Hold on a minute. Rock, paper, scissors, go.
My quick one was, we were talking about Martinez with Man U earlier. Howe didn't start Botman, and they signed him a long time before Martinez. He just brought him on as a sub for a bit of the game at the end. So just highlighting like the different approach between the two managers there.
One thing I did find interesting though is that Howe did bring Pope straight in as number one.
Told you that, though.
And Dubravka's not done. He's done really well for them over the past.
He can't catch.
True.
Pope. Pope's just steady, if that makes sense. Dubravka hadn't been poor, but when you're looking to make those strides, and they have to be, I want to say, baby steps almost to improve. That's just an improvement, and you just keep improving the squad one step at a time.
But the thing is, I think it's good that he made that decision. It's not a case of no one's going to be thinking now, oh, who's his number one? Pope's come in and he's given Pope the first game. So for me, that's saying that until Pope does something horribly wrong, Pope's going to be his guy.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's got to be the case. Alan Saint-Maximin's back fit. And, he's always a worry. He's always scaring defenders. And it's good to see that Callum Wilson scored. Like, I've always rated him, but he's never scored enough goals. His work rate is fantastic, but his goal return has been poor.
And he gets injured a lot. He never has he never does like 2/3 of the season without an injury or something. Like a good long run, 20 games or something. He's always out. He'll be in for 3 or 4 games and then he'll go down with an injury, which is a shame because he's actually a very good striker, I think. Yeah,
the season we went down, he was out for nearly half the season at the end. But both the goals are really nice. Like Wilson got that nice touch to chip it over the goalie, and Shah just absolutely honed it in off the post. Like, nice goals from Newcastle.
It's good. And then we'll talk about the team I tipped to win the league. Outsiders. And they are top of the league, right?
Totally justified that prediction, Neil.
Totally justified, right? So the season stops now. Spurs have won the league. I got it right. Steve, that's the biggest drink I've ever seen known to man.
And Leeds and Bournemouth are in Europe.
And it's a win-win-win for everybody, right? So Spurs absolutely caned off Southampton. Went 1-0 down, came back into the game, dominated, were just far, far better. Now, we spoke quite a bit in depth of Southampton and how erratic their results are. So is this an erratic Southampton performance, or is this a good Spurs performance, Steve?
I think it's a combination of the two, to be honest. I think Southampton, they weren't great. They managed to get the opening goal off the corner, but overall, I don't think they're fantastic. Tottenham were good. I think there was some poor defending as well because they just get Kulusevski is got a very good left foot, but the left back just continuously let him have acres of space. Never push tight to him, let him do what he wanted to do. So to me, the defending from Southampton was poor. So I think it's a combination of the two: erratic Southampton performance and a good performance from Tottenham.
Now, Spurs set up in this game 3-4-3. So obviously playing some wing backs, but having 3 across the centre of the pitch. That means Emerson Royale doesn't need to defend anywhere near as much as he would be. That's a masterstroke by Conte, right?
That's Conte's, to me, favoured formation. It's what brought him success at Chelsea. And the way he could get the best out of Luiz when he was at Chelsea. So to me, it suits his style of play better.
Dunk, you about to say something?
Yeah, and Emerson was involved in like a few of the movements there. So yeah, it does look like a good decision. Maybe he'd like to try the same with Firpo at Leeds.
But does this give him more of the? I'd say a good reason to get forward. You've obviously got the overlap from Emerson as well at that particular point. He's going to be bombing up and down. The 3-4-3 kind of, I know it's like almost a 5-2-3 formation, depending on what you were transitioning at that particular point. but having a three across the back sometimes doesn't work, and the defenders don't have that conversation about where each player should be and having the dictation. But Romero seems to have been a decent sign in for Spurs when they sign him. And they've got Ben Davis and Eric Dyer. Like it's a really surprising back three for me. Like if I was picking on a bit pair, I would never pick those three to sit at the back together. Like out of the whole of their team. Dunk?
Yeah.
Well, go on, Steve. Yeah,
no, I was going to say agreed. I didn't have much
was
more
there?
to say.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the insights. Yes, concur.
Yeah, that is a strange front back three. Surprising Dyer scored. When we did we did an episode like halfway through last season about the defenders, and I think I found that stat about Eric Dyer. I can't remember what it was. Like he hadn't made a tackle, or he'd made like some ridiculously low amount of tackles in defence. So maybe, we'll see if Conte can get that working. Like Ben Davis, he's obviously seen something in him that he can move in from fullback to the inside. Obviously, if you're playing 3-4-3 and the fullback, the wing backs getting forward, Davis will be able to like shift out slightly to side to cover that kind of area. So the test of that defense is going to be when they play good teams, though. I don't think we can judge too much with Southampton. And just on the theme of that episode on defenders, we've just absolutely ruined Salisu's career. We said he was amazing. The own goal was just comical.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what he does when they play against teams that's got much more movement up front, and the players intertwine and interchange with each other, or have midfielders coming from deep, because Southampton just looked way off the pace.
Spurs, that there was no Richarlison in the team this week. I don't know if he was injured. I haven't looked, and I probably should. That's a bit lazy of me. But anyway, he wasn't there. But Kulevski looks like he's just continued his good game of vein of form from last season. He seems to have been an absolute revelation. When they're looking to get players, they've bought some that haven't worked in, lots of forwards that haven't worked in the past. But now, Kulevski, you've got goals right, you've got goals left from Son as well. And Harry Kane doesn't need to score until Christmas. We all know that. And he needs to score for England, so that we don't care if he scores for Spurs at that particular point. I don't want to put too much on because I don't want to ruin his career for him. But he has been that damn good, I think. And I'm going to end on that 1%. No. That's just a statement. I did that statement.
We just wanted to say we agreed, Neil.
I concur.
And just a quick one. If I remember correctly, when we were doing predictions last week, I think I predicted this was the season Southampton's luck runs out. Totally justified.
we do want to ruin Kulevski's career. Yeah, we don't want him having a good season.
Well, I mean, not all of us. And then Sessegnon came off, and Perisic came on. The old man came on, the faithful for Conte, which is good to see. Not a bad substitute and player to be able to bring on. But bringing him on for Sessegnon just shows that 3-4-3 really isn't going to be doing much defending on those. You're not bringing Perisic on to track up and down a pitch for that game. So he's obviously gone, right, you know what, we want to win. And I've said it before, Conte's mentality is such a single-minded win mentality, which is really, I don't want to say refreshing, but actually having that, you know what you're getting with Conte. All costs, no one cares. We're winning that game today, and that's the way we're going to go in it. I don't really want to talk about the Palace Arsenal game. That was Friday, so what a welcome back to the Premier League it was. Sitting down, sat on my sofa, put on the football. Palace, Arsenal, 3-4-3, yeah? Again, for that game. Said it before, Saka dropping back, right? Said he'd be the man. No man product at the top, so you can kind of put him wherever you want to put him now, right? Jesus didn't score. What a letdown. He ain't going to get you 20 goals this season, is he? Not a bad game from all accounts by both teams. I don't think that Palace were poor. in that game at all. I don't think it was like the best game of football that we've ever seen. They took the game to Arsenal. Arsenal sat back quite well, attacked when they needed to attack. Gabriel, which one? Martinelli getting on the score sheet though. Steve,
yeah, after he missed the sitter, he should have scored before that. But yeah, I think Arsenal started well. Then Palace came back into the game and overall had probably the better chances. And there's a combination of poor finishing and Ramsdale being half decent in goal, even though he had a couple of shaky moments himself. I was impressed with the way Arsenal dug it out. Showed they were solid in defence. Saliba, I know everyone's going to be talking about him. Where's he been for 3 years? But those 3 years of loans has made him the player that we saw on the pitch on Friday. There's no guarantee that if he was playing last season for 10 or 15 minutes across the whole season, he would have been playing what he done on Friday. But he was really good.
So you're saying if he stayed at Arsenal, they'd have ruined him? So he could go and develop elsewhere and come back and beat. No, 100%. I agree.
I think if he stayed last season, there wasn't enough football for him to get the minutes. But to play a full season in a top league, in a league where he's playing week in, week out, just the minutes alone is going to make him develop as a player, as a centre back. And I think we're seeing the rewards of that by his performance. I'm just hoping it can continue. Stuff, but no.
If anyone looks on the Premier, if anyone looks on the PremierLeague.com, they've got the formation wrong for Arsenal because there's no way that they set up as a 4-3-3. That was clearly a 3-4-3 with three across the back of Ben White, Gabriel, and Saliba playing as the back three, which I thought worked really, really well. Ramsdale shaky as whatever. I've got no idea what is going on with his head. All right, there was the bit he kicked the ball and it hit the player's back of the foot. That was just a freak accident. But he is, to me, probably the weakest player in that team. I know that you raved about him last season, but I don't think his decision making is of the ilk that you need to get to that next level.
Yeah, and the thing about to be a great goalkeeper is you have to have composure. You can't be erratic. You always have to be showing that things are calm. And he has those moments where he does something which is so uncalled for. He holds the ball. Well, a lot of keepers are doing it now, but he holds the ball too long. Yeah, you're good with your feet, but sometimes just get rid of it. Relieve the pressure off the defence. Don't take the risk. So yeah, I'm hoping he irons that out of his game.
Yeah, I do agree. Dunk, I'm going to ask you some questions about this game in 2 minutes. Don't worry about this because this is some really important stats. Arsenal had 2 shots on target that game and scored both. So Palace had 2 shots on target and obviously didn't score either. Now, only 2 shots on target, looking at the lineup they've got and the amazing pre-season, the fact that Palace had more possession, they made more passes, they looked more, I don't want to say determined, but definitely more steely for large portions and didn't come out with it. Is this a positive for Arsenal that they don't have to be the better team in the game as long as they just score the goals? Go on, take it away. The floor's yours.
Are you talking to me now? Are you?
Yeah. It's yours.
Yeah. With regards to all that, the most important stat is 2-0, 3 points. So again, that's what we were saying last week. Like they talked about with the other teams, momentum killers. Like Arsenal wanting to get a result straight out against someone like Palace. Let's make a comparison here. Last season, Man U lost to Brighton 4-0. Today, they lost them 2-1. Last season, Arsenal lost to Palace. What's the score on that one, Steve?
3-0.
3-0 to Palace, and now they beat Palace 2-0. Okay, so again, like it's momentum. You just want to see something building and moving in a positive direction. So it's important that they got that result. And yeah, it's all like you can spin it as a negative, but it's always great. That's what all the good teams have done. If you're not playing well, or the other team are having the best of it, if you can get that result, that's a positive in my eyes, not a negative.
Steve, you agree?
I concur.
Fantastic, man. I looked at the Arsenal bench and the first team doesn't seem too bad at all, right? They got the win, so that's the important thing. But the bench still seems like it's lacking. Once you've got a couple of injuries in there, then you've only got people like Pepe to come in, who hasn't really been great. You've got Reece Nelson, Nketiah, Elneny, Sambula Conga. I didn't know he was still there. I thought he'd gone. Soares, Holding, and Tierney. I mean, Holding and Suarez,
Cedric Suarez.
yeah. I mean, are we still a few more players short of having a team that can successfully challenge, and I say successfully challenge for the top 4 rather than just being behind?
I think they need to definitely get some bodies in to improve the squad, because you need that bench to be a bit better. Yes, Tomiyasu is missing from the squad. Emil Smith-Rowe still out injured, but again, there's still some players that you need to raise the bar. Yes, we've raised the bar with the players on the pitch in Jesus, Zinchenko, signing those guys, but you also need to raise the quality in the bench as well, because if you lose a player for a long period of time, we don't want to be fucked. Whoops, I shouldn't swear, but messed up.
It's too late. You've already dropped the F-bomb now. We'd gone almost the whole hour with absolutely zero swearing, and we could have been kiddie friendly.
I'm just following Haaland after his interview on Sky Sports after the game.
Don't blame Haaland for your potty mouths. Okay, let's talk about the last game. And this, I think, is the important one. We're going to start off with you on this one, Duncan, because your big man was there. Frank Lampard's team, Everton versus Chelsea. Everton only lost 1-0 in this game. Is this an improvement, or is it still bad?
It's a tough game to have Chelsea first game of the season, whether it's home or away. I mean, I don't think there'd be many people would have been backing Everton for a result in that game. So yeah, I won't be too harsh on Frank at the minute. We need to judge him in the games where they're playing the lower half of the table teams, or even the mid-table team, and see what their performances are like and how they got on in those. So, like I said, I'm not going to judge him too much at this stage against Chelsea, although did back him to get sacked in week 6. Just saying.
Okay, that now. I'm a fan of football. I enjoy it as much as the next person. Some weird stuff going on at Chelsea still, though. I know that we spoke about it in depth. Lukaku going, Sterling's come in. Sterling played number 9 for that game. Started off not a problem at all. You've got Havertz and you've got Mount. There's almost 3, like the narrowest front 3 that you could ever imagine in football. And then he brought on Brozier later on in the game. Right? Not a problem. Brilliant. But he left Sterling up top. And I don't know where Brozier came in. I don't know if it was just like go on and just run. I literally don't understand what happened. Again, I'm not a football manager, but why was Sterling not pushed out wide? Brozier, the bigger, stronger, and had the season up top for Southampton, made of that ilk of playing on that position, completely ignored it and went, Sterling, carry on, bro. Just run around and find some space. Just do something. You're like, literally, it was just like, oh, go on, just go and do something. I don't know what you're gonna do. Just I had he given like Tuchel, like, come on, Steve, help me out here. Let me understand this.
I wish I could, because they were crying for some width, and he just never made the changes to make it happen. He had, as you said, Havertz, Mount. It's just all too narrow. Even if he did push Chilwell on, and what's his name, the left back that they just signed.
Well, he had James on, didn't he? He had James on.
Cucurella. That's the dude. So here, I'll get him by next week. So yeah. So if they even played him behind Chilwell or something, just to give them some width, but it was just a game of like two teams that are crying out for strikers, to be honest. Because even Everton, who they played Davidson up the middle, and then he looked lost and stuff, and then they tried your mate Dele Alli again, offered nothing. So Chelsea, they're in disarray, in my view.
Yeah, there is a certain amount of disarray, and I think Tuchel's got to be held accountable. Syria going to get JJ's favorite word in there, accountability. They got the win, so kind of that's going to be masking over the tactical issues. You've got Chilwell and James, perfect, wing backs, right? They're going to give you a lot of pace, but no width anywhere else on the pitch. It's the narrowest, any other team playing wide, Man City, Liverpool, with that width is going to absolutely see that as a bit of fun going left and right. And even Arsenal are playing far wider than that narrowness. Dunk, is this going to be Tuchel's downfall? His own stubbornness to cater for other situations?
I mean, at this stage, it's hard to tell what's going on. Like, Dunk, can you predict Tuchel? No, I know I can't.
You've got to. It's a really crap podcast if we don't have predictions and opinions. Well, I think they did okay this week.
Yeah, like at the end of the last season, I thought they'd stick with Tuchel. He'd push on from what he did last season. But like you said, there's just weird stuff going on. Weird stuff in the transfer market. Werner being linked with being loaned out, Lukaku going to Inter, and now we see the first match of the season. There's some weird tactical things going on. Odd. We'll see again, like they were playing Everton, so probably a game they expected to win. We'll see when they start playing better teams. An acid test for them is going to be if they play another top 4 challenger, because that's where they finished last season.
Find that next week because they're playing Tottenham.
Oh, there we go then.
At Stamford Bridge. So yeah,
I don't think I'll be backing them for that game then.
So Conor Gallagher comes on in 99 minutes. We've had this conversation before of managers using the subs, embedding these players. He had a cracking season at Crystal Palace, right? It's 1-0 away from home against Everton. Yeah, Conor Gallagher's had a good season. He seems to be quite creative. Probably more legs in him than Jorginho from that side of things. But he's not used. He's just brought on. Like, I think that was his first Premier League appearance for Chelsea, which, like, what a waste. I mean, I hate to say that, but what a waste of a debut appearance. 99 minutes into the game with a minute of injury time, and he comes on. Like, what's the point, right?
He should have come on much earlier. Just because he offers them something different, especially on the back of what the season he had at Crystal Palace. Just to try something different, to be more, even show more cohesion going forward. Yeah, you may be winning the game 1-0, but just to show some ambition that you want to make a statement that we have got it together attacking wise. But no, it doesn't make any sense. And I really wish he had made a move.
Yeah, not for him, for his own thing. Sanctuary, I think it would have been. Now, Chelsea fans, if you're listening, I don't dislike the club at all, but the creativity is poor. There's like 770 passes for Chelsea in that game and 1-0 against Everton, right? The shots, there just wasn't enough. They've got Sterling in, zero width at all. The ball, the passes aren't going forward. They're going left to right. You look at the center of the park and you're like, I mean, I remember when players like Zola were in the team and obviously went a bit further forward in the end, and they had like proper creative, they even had De Bruyne at one point, didn't they? They're proper creative players, right? That there, and you would go, oh, fantastic. Now I look at that and go, you've not got strikers because they're not scoring goals. You've got no creativity in midfield, but you've probably got a decent, wing backs left and right. This transfer window, are they going to buy anyone else, Dunk? Again, don't predictions. Do they need to buy anyone else? There we are.
You'd say they still need a striker if they're going to. I don't know. We'll see if they loan Werner out. But obviously they lost Lukaku. Sterling's going to be up top there or thereabouts. And like you said, it's surprising that he didn't utilise some of his width in that game. He can bring other players into the game, and Sterling can move out to the sides. Just fill me in. Who was in midfield with Jorginho?
Kante.
Okay,
and then you've got left and right of Chilwell and James.
Yeah, so I'd say that's probably holding back Gallagher at the minute, that he's got a defensive partnership, even though he's got 5 at the back.
It's 8 at the back. If
we're getting a bit close. We're getting a bit close to England here, aren't we? With the two CDMs in the middle. Like most of that squad, you'll have to say is good enough for top 4. That's what they got. It's just up top where they need something a bit more creativity. Maybe he went for that system because he's waiting to bring someone in to complete his vision of what's going to happen up top.
Lukaku.
I've heard he might be the missing piece of the jigsaw.
So he's got Havertz and Mount, right? Havertz, Mount, and Sterling. I think everyone just needs to take a minute just to think of Havertz, Mount, and Sterling. Like, you've got 2 number 10s in there. Like, we don't even want 2 10s for England, do we, Dunk? And I know you're an adamant that we don't want 2. We need 1 10 and put 2 up top. I don't mind like having 2 strikers, especially when you've got that much defense behind you, right? Kante, Jorginho, you've got James Chilwell, plus the back 3. Literally, everybody is sitting back on that ball. Everton probably couldn't have had I know they lost, but they only had 37% of the ball. They had 4 shots on target and 8 shots. They were never going to score with that midfield that they've got. Dele Alli is never going to come on and set the game alight. But to be fair to Lampard, he was looking to do those positive moves. So he's bought Dele Alli in to make the difference on the 60th minute, rightly or wrongly, whether he does it. It's an attacking move, right? To bring him on, and if Dele gets back to the form that he used to be at, and that before Mourinho took over Spurs, way before that form when he used to be really good, and he gets back to that and that hope, then it's a fantastic player and an addition to have in. I think Everton are going to struggle this season based on who they have got and the depth of that squad. And again, it doesn't look like there's much money to come in and to be spending around. They've not made strides in the transfer market to sign top quality players, which is, they're either here or there. Right, roundup done. We did a prediction last week. We're going to give you some predictions again. So if you're listening, it didn't go really well for me last week. So at the moment, Angry One's top, Big Steve, you're second, Duncan, you're third, but JJ and myself are equal bottom. Didn't really go very well. Unfortunately, the Angry One's not here, so we don't have to congratulate him for being top of the league so far. But 4 games coming up, okay? We're not going to talk about all of the games of the future, but we're going to talk about the 4, and I want some predictions from you. Arsenal-Leicester, I believe. Nice to see they're all Saturday next week as well. Arsenal-Leicester, 3 o'clock kickoff. Scores, please, Steve.
Arsenal 3-1.
Sorry, I said Arsenal-Leicester, yeah? Yeah, just making sure. Fantastic. Go on.
He just stole my score.
Did he? You're going for the same? Copycat. Yeah.
I don't want to be the same. Go on, I'll be the same. I'll be 3-1 as well. Yeah, I think they're good enough for a 2-goal winning margin at home to Leicester.
Do you think so?
I do, yeah.
Vardy not going to take him apart and get a hat trick?
No.
Okay. I'm going for 2-2 in that game.
Oh.
Yeah, Saliba's won. He's had his one good game. Saliba, and that's it now for the whole season. Disappeared. Brighton have also got Newcastle at home. Bit of a tough one, this one. Going to be one of those ones that are going to be hard to predict. Dunk, you go first. Come on. No, Steve, shush.
Go.
Back in your box.
Yeah. Hands up if you want to talk, please.
I guess the obvious one there is to go for some kind of draw. Yeah, well, Brighton could do it. I'll play it safe. I'll go for 1-1.
1-1. Oh, no. Hold on a minute. Steve. You wanted to go first, didn't you, on this one?
Yeah. I was actually going to say 1-1 as well.
If you guys pick the same scores, none of you can go across in front of the other one, right?
Yeah.
He's just trying to goad you into picking ridiculous scoreline, Steve, like he did last week.
Let's go with 2-1 Brighton.
2-1 Brighton, nice. Okay. For that one, draw's got to be on the cards for that particular one, right? But for that one, I'm going for 3-1 Newcastle. Even if the draw's on the card, I can't have the same. And that way, I'll be above both of you should that come in. This is going to be a hard one for you, Duncan. So we're going to come to you second on this one. Man City, Bournemouth.
Oh. 4-0.
4-0?
To City.
Dunk was shaking his head there for those just listening. Duncan's not happy about it. I mean, the score is probably going to be 4-0, but he's not happy. Go on then, Dunk.
No, like I said, we normally give Man City some closer games and giving us a goal as well. I'll be optimistic and I'll go 2-1 to Man City. We're going to keep it within that.
Okay, so just to clarify, Man City, yeah, league leaders, winners, yeah, with Haaland, yeah, against Bournemouth, with Solanke, and you're going 2-1, right?
That's exactly what I'm going.
Okay, Jesus. All right, guys, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to pick 7-0 on this one because I just want to gloat about it next week. We haven't had a massive Premier League score in a while, so we've got to be due one. The last game I've picked is Brentford versus United for obvious reasons. Ericsson and JJ. So, Duncan, you first.
I will slap another 2-2 for Brentford down there.
2-2, nice.
Yeah. Man United aren't winning anyway.
Steve?
2-1 to Brentford.
You're doing your most impressive Gallagher impression that I could imagine there.
2-1 Brentford.
Nice. I'm going to go 1-1 on that particular one. I think that's going to be... It's a tough game, really, when you look at it on paper.
You didn't want to outdo me with a 3-4 or 4 then, Neil?
Nah, not on that one. There are games on Sunday and Monday. So I haven't picked any. Just picked them all for Saturday because I think it makes it a little bit fun and we can have a good conversation about it next week. So some of the games next week, though, obviously Chelsea versus Spurs. Is that going to be an absolute drab in there for Chelsea?
No, I don't think so.
You can't say that Spurs are going to win, though, can you?
No, I don't think it'll be a drubbing because Conte's about just getting the 3 points. So he wouldn't go and necessarily go all out and attack Chelsea. So he will remain cautious. So I can see he will just want to do enough to win the game. But I don't think it'll be a drubbing.
So he's going to go cautious against the eight-man defence of Chelsea.
Yeah.
Dunk, what do you think?
I think I'm going to back Spurs to win that one. Chelsea never going to get rolled by anyone, particularly at Stamford Bridge. But I can definitely see Spurs something like 2-1, 3-1, putting a couple of goals past them, taking the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. We discussed a lot of the other teams. Liverpool, though, they've got quite a hard game next week. They've got Crystal Palace at home. Now, Vieira's got Palace. He seems in a good place at the moment, right? They seem to be playing quite well. They were unlucky against Arsenal, weren't clinical enough, and if you don't take your chances, you're never going to win the game. Are Liverpool going to prove a point on that particular game? Is it going to be like, we have to go and win this now after the last game? Go on, Dunk.
Yeah, I think they're going to slap them down. It's going to be a rebound performance after everyone was disappointed with the first game of the season against Fulham. We saw what they could do in the Community Shield. I think they're going to smack them down with 3-goal winning margin, something like that.
I think they'll beat them, but I don't know if it'll be a big margin. Just because of the way Palace play, they do play with high pressure, and Liverpool were very uncomfortable with that high pressure against Fulham. So it's going to be an interesting one. But I do think Liverpool will win, but I don't think it'll be by a massive margin.
So I want to summarise everything so far that we've discussed today. There's no panicking yet for your teams. There's some concern out there, though, right? Some big concerns, some red flags seems to be an appropriate term that social media seems to be using heavily for things at the moment. But if your team is struggling, stay with them. Don't just abandon them and look for the best team. Stay with your team. They'll get there. They'll come through. The spells are hard, aren't they, Steve, when your team aren't playing well? It's hard when your team don't qualify for the Champions League season after season, isn't it? And you don't win anything. It's hard, right?
At least you're not getting relegated. Try that. That's quite hard.
Yeah, that's hard. But at least you're playing for something, right? Survival's a far more interesting thing to play for, apart from if you've got heart conditions. And
I think what will happen is if teams get bad results next weekend, then we'll see the panic, because it'll be like 2 weeks left for the window. So I think that's when you might see the panic. I think a lot of squads are not settled yet. I think a lot of clubs that have bought, even Arsenal, Tottenham, they have to get rid of some players. So that's going to be interesting.
So you think Arsenal need to get rid of some players?
I think they will get rid of some players. I just think they will do more business. They will get a couple of more players in, but they will also get rid of some in and around that first team squad.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of there's some other clubs that are in the same situation. So I think after next weekend, if results don't go well for some clubs, they would then start panicking and saying, "Oh, we've got 2 weeks. We've got to sort stuff out."
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's you've got that. We spoke in depth at United and Ten Hag. Neville absolutely went at the board again today with their lack of transfers. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of always going to the board with everything. Is it the board's fault? Just a yes or no on this one, or is it Ten Hag's fault because he's so narrow-minded and only wants Ajax players? Dunk.
I'd say it's the board. Yep.
Steve?
It's the manager at this point.
Oh, look at that. It's a divided room. The fights are coming in. No, I'd have to agree that I think they both need to take some responsibility on this side of things. More time's needed, but on the flip side of it, there's got to be a list of players that people are after, right? And that needs to be discussed at some particular point, and someone needs to go in. But a new manager at a club is never going to shout at the board in his first few weeks, right? Because that would look ridiculous. But he might be gone, and Pochettino might be in by Christmas if it continues at this particular rate. So finally, Pochettino will have a job, right? So that's it. So there's been no JJ this week. There's been no angry one. There's been no fights. It's all been love and harmony. The Premier League's back. Football's been restored. And it's finally nice to have something to watch on TV, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the key thing for me. Finally can sit down and watch something. Take the remote back over.
Well, I'm going to enjoy the first week because I guarantee there won't be a whole lot of weekends where Leeds and Bournemouth both win this season. So I will enjoy my first weekend.
I'll tell you something. Bournemouth have got a tough few weeks. I think it Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, isn't it? I think your next 3 fixtures or something like that.
That doesn't sound too bad, Steve.
he put Arsenal in that. I mean, I don't know what he's on about. So that's a win.
The one thing I will say, like when Bournemouth had their seasons in the Premier League, I can remember we have had victories against Liverpool and Arsenal. So, if we carry on that same vein, I think we can compete with top teams and not get smashed. So.
It sounds like a bet you should have every week, though. A double on Leeds and Bournemouth to both win, right? Just a little flutter.
I've been following those results for the last however many years. I would not be in profit. It depends where they are. Bournemouth were in the Championship last season, so it happened a bit more, but then Leeds were on the down, so we'll see. I
mean, you might win and lose, right? But I don't put your house on it. Again, I'm not gambling. Paddy Power, if you want to sponsor us, we've got no issues with that at all. It sounds like a fantastic double you should be having there week in and week out. Right, that is it. We're going to wrap up the show. If you've got to this part of the show, fantastic. You can follow Duncan on OnlyFans. He's got a new account and he sells old socks. Other than that, you won't find them on any other social media. For the rest of us, we're on Instagram. Like us, follow us and subscribe on everything. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We've got a webpage of grassrootchats.com where you can find all of the latest news. You can find our table on there for our predictions, as well as the video and audio only. You can get the audio on every subscription that you want: Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it, we should be on it. And if we're not on it, message us and let us know. Like us, comment below. Thank you for listening. It's ciao from me.
See you later.
I thought you were waiting for yourself to say goodbye then.
No, I was like, ciao from me. I was about to say it's ciao from me. And it's goodbye from Dunk. Yeah, he's muted now.
I thought I just said it. I just said goodbye.
No,
now you're making me on mute again. Goodbye.
All right, more things.